Good evening, my beasts. It is TVB, and I am here today to review the long-awaited Monsterverse film, the fourth installment in the Monsterverse franchise, Godzilla vs. Kong, which is available on HBO Max and in theaters. It's a long-awaited film that, as you guessed it, where Godzilla finally fights King Kong for the first time since, like, the 60s, and that's pretty much the plot later. I usually like to, at the beginning of my movie reviews, always like to start by like describing the film's plot greatly, but that's all I really need to. That's basically the storyline right there, and there's human characters that come along the way, and there's been a disruption in the world, and instead of like being the peacemaker, Godzilla is like wreaking havoc, and no one's sure why, and then of course Kong has to step in and set things right. So last year, at the beginning of 2020, this was, I believe, my second most anticipated movie of 2020. Then, of course, got pushed back to 2021, so by default, this was my most anticipated movie of 2021. And, because I've been a supporter of the Monsterverse. I really liked Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island. And I think King of the Monsters is a great film, and it gets a lot of crap it doesn't deserve. So, of course, I had very high expectations. Well, high expectations for Godzilla vs. Kong in the sense is, we want to see, these two colossal iconic titans just kick each other's butts, and it's you gotta keep your expectations low but high at the same time. So it's a simple-minded film. It's corny, it's popcorny, but at the same time you're really excited for that. That's why it's kind of like a give and take sort of thing. And did this film deliver in the monster fights? Yes, it did. When Godzilla and King Kong go head to head, which is actually quite a bit of the movie, they didn't. Neither monster got the whole 2014 treatment where Godzilla was only on screen for a total 15 minutes. They both get an appropriate amount of screen time, and they're both very integral to the plot. Not just there to fight and wreak havoc and destroy cities, but also that's the human characters interacting with Kong and the other human characters interacting with Godzilla as actually pushes the plot forward, which is a huge bonus. And yeah, technically speaking, the film is great. The cinematography, special effects, the music, everything is really spot on. The cinematography especially, some scenes, it feels like there's a camera, it seems like a GoPro is attached to one of Godzilla's dorsal spines or Kong's arm, so it feels like you're literally right next to the monsters as they're running or swimming at each other, and it just feels really raw and right there in the moment. And yeah, the action scenes, especially in the second half of the film, it was just excellence. I'd say the second best part of Godzilla vs. Kong, though, aside from the monster fighting, is the dynamic that Kong has with this little girl that he befriends on Skull Island who's deaf, and they communicate to each other through sign language. Oh my gosh, what is it with Hollywood movies and apes learning sign language? There's the rebooted Planet of the Apes franchise, and now this, and of course you got Shape of Water with sign language, and Baby Driver with sign language. Just so many movies now just incorporate sign language. Now I gotta learn sign language. The other human characters, though, it's nobody really bothered me per se, but there is a sense of humor and self-awareness that the human characters have with themselves. It's almost the characters in the movie know that they're taking a backseat to the giant monsters that are just wreaking havoc on the world, and there's a lot of humor. And I'd say this film's biggest issue is the pacing. Godzilla vs. Kong is 1 hour and 53 minutes. As far as I could be wrong on this, but I believe this is the shortest out of all the Monsterverse movies. It doesn't crack the 2-hour runtime. And in all honesty, I think it would have benefited from a longer runtime, even though it's close to 2 hours. It's I feel some details in this film are just glossed over way too quickly, and I really want to just take a step back and have things slow down just a little bit. Not just I want more fight scenes, but also more scenes establishing the world more, because there's of course the whole hollow earth that the Titans use to get around, and there's a lot of really the whole concept there is really cool, but again, I think it's kind of just rushed through. This film was supposed to be longer originally from what I've been told, but this isn't the film's fault by any means, because it was put through Hollywood's gulag a lot of other movies in the past year and a half, so they had cut a lot of scenes out and have just make things more concise for both theaters and HBO Max. I really, fingers crossed, I would love to see a director's cut for this movie. I rewatched the 2005 King Kong movie directed by Peter Jackson, the remake, and this right here is the extended version, which has an additional like 2 fight scenes, like this one in like a swamp where they're attacked by like a giant piranha monster, and like earlier in that movie there's like they're attacked by like a triceratops. Yeah, I think this movie really could benefit from like not like a Zack Snyder's like, Justice League cut or anything, but it's like an extended version with more scenes just flesh out the world, because there is character development that kind of goes nowhere, especially with Millie Bobby Brown's character. Like, she and her friend, who's played by Julian Dennison, and they meet this like crazy conspiracy guy who runs a podcast, played by Brian Tyree Henry. Yeah, it's like they're not bad characters by any means. It's just like there's development, there's like bits of character development that kind of just goes nowhere. And there's like a lot of things where I don't want to go into spoilers, because I do plan on making a spoiler talk for this movie tomorrow or on Easter Sunday, depending on what time is most convenient. Hopefully tomorrow. I do want to go into more spoilers, so stay tuned for that. I feel like the only real issue I had was like there's some details that just like there's bits of character that kind of just goes nowhere. But of course, we're not really here for the human movies. We're here to see Godzilla, and we're here to see Kong. But again, it's like, I kind of wish the fight scenes were longer. I get special effects budget, so I can understand why they weren't longer, but I think this movie just would benefit from a longer runtime. But aside from that, this movie knows what it means, what it needs to be. And that is, well, as the title implies, Godzilla and Kong fighting each other. And I would really hope that, I feel like this doesn't feel like a closing chapter in the Monsterverse. I feel like there's definitely room for more films to come. I really just hope to God that like Toho keeps like throwing money at Legendary Studios or Warner Bros. So that can keep happening, because this world just has so much potential, and I could eat it up all day. So yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong is a simple film, but that's what it needs to be, and it was what it needs to be. It's like I'm not entirely sure which one I like more, this or King of the Monsters. So I do feel like King of the Monsters was better paced, but of course Godzilla vs. Kong did learn from a few mistakes they made in that movie. So for what it is, I have to give Godzilla vs. Kong a 9 out of 10 stars. It is an awesome film. Okay, so out of the 4 Monsterverse movies, this, King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, and 2014 Godzilla, which is your favorite? Please let me know in the comments down below, and subscribe to this channel, please. We're like really close to 1,500 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that, and that means the world to me. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and happy Easter, happy Good Friday and Holy Saturday, anyone who observes that. And yeah, have a nice night. Stay beastly.